Wanderer. It is late afternoon or the evening for me right now. I'm going to play some Minecraft. And yes, like the title, we're getting right into it. So, went off and yes, I did look up a definition. Thank you very much. Between morals and ethics. So I wanted to make sure that what I was about to say was more or less academically or scholarly accurate. Um, so it is basically a morality because it's my own personal subjective viewpoint here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about why I bitched about why can't we make string from wool. And I did go out to the Microsoft Minecraft actual website that talks about it, and or I found one that talked about it, and it's true. There is really the reason why I'm complaining about making string from wool is because I'm too fucking lazy to stay up in the game at night and hunt for spiders, or I don't want to go caving and look for spiders. Basically, that's it. It has nothing to do with logic or sensibility or anything like that. If it did, it'd probably be on the more ethical approach of things. But to be fully fair, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, basically anybody who complains about something that isn't a failure of service or guarantee, breaching of an agreement, failure of a contract kind of situation. Anybody who, complains about something that isn't something that is mechanical or chemically wrong, or basically, if you're told a certain thing is going to happen and that thing does not happen, um, that's when that's when you should be complaining about stuff. But complaining about shit that designers have chosen not to do in the game because for whatever reasons they might have, like it might upset the balance or it might put too much of a strain on the code, or maybe it just, it takes away the encouragement to explore and take risks. Uh, because the whole thing about gameplay really is about taking risks, but in a safer environment that doesn't involve any actual harm to yourself other than perhaps maybe, a few dozen hours spent and then wasted in a clumsy moment. Uh, it's about accountability and being, and taking account of your abilities and resources as well. When I used to play a lot of tabletop RPGs in groups, we played basically the Moldvay and Holmes editions of the game. We didn't really play much AD&D, first edition AD&D. We we didn't like the separation of job and race. We liked the fact that clerics were human, dwarves could function like a fighter or a cleric, halflings could function like a thief, that kind of situation. That limited palette made a lot of room for improvisation, and it was exciting and fun. But the point being is that when I was playing in a group, there were certain agreements that we made, and we kept account of each other's, you know, uh, purpose, place in those agreements, making sure that people weren't, breaching them or anything like that. And that's really what group gameplay is supposed to teach you. It's like one of the things I complain the most about. And yes, it's morally, morally inept for me to, or a waste of my time to complain about such things, is the fact that they removed so much sports from grade school and middle school and high school curriculum, or they put such a limitation on it because learning to function in a team, I think, is a critical and I would have to say maybe even a right that a person should have. Being able to play a team sport of some kind, to learn what it is to be with a teammate, not just in learning how communication skills and things like that, and relationship skills, but being able to put yourself aside, put your own ego down, and out of the way in favor of a team success. We don't have that here in the States. I don't think we don't have that anymore. I see it a lot more on the road as a driver, pretty consistently frequently throughout the week that driving is a team sport. It really is. Driving is a team activity. You are playing with people who don't know your intentions, and that's why you have signals. People don't use signals, and that's an age-old, observation. It goes all the way back to the invention of the signal. Well, you have this little blinky light on your car. You don't use it. No wonder somebody fucking pulled up alongside your right rear bumper and fucked your world. Um, and that's oddly specific, but that's something I've seen happen too many times on the road. Somebody didn't use a blinker. Next thing you know, collisions. So it's just that whole thing about I've noticed that people who play more team sports that aren't driven by a quarterback or an MVP mentality, they tend to get along very well with others. They also tend to be very self-sufficient, and they're also quite a bit more patient than most of the other people that I've encountered, and I think that's important. And so when I'm talking about the morality of complaining, do you actually have a moral right to complain? You can complain about anything you want, but honestly, if you're not ready to present a solution to it, then all you're doing is just making noise, and you have to really be willing to work for the effort for that. So if I really feel that string should be made from blocks of wool because I don't feel like going up against spiders in a dark gas cave, then I need to get a bunch of people together on a petition and start running a campaign to have that, be a thing. And my platform is pretty simple. I have really screwy vision, and so being in game states where there's a lot of darkness has a tendency to mess with me. Not to mention, I do suffer from visual motion sickness. Like if I sit here and go like this for too long, okay, I can't play. I have to actually, what normally would be like a 45-minute game session would end up being about 10 minutes because I just can't handle it. It's one thing when you're driving; it's even worse when I'm watching YouTubes. So, there is that. Plus, also maybe there are some individuals out there who just are bona fide arachnophobes. How are they going to get string in the game? You'd have to make friends with a cat. I don't know about you, but do you see any cats hanging around here? Yeah, no, I don't. And it's a very rare chance that a cat will even, bring you string as a treat for taking care of it. Of course, you can kill cats, and there's a higher chance of string being in a cat than there is of a cat bringing you string as a pet. So that's kind of, the game's going to have a splash, a title splash that says "Don't kill the dolphins, you monster," but nothing about taking out cats. Uh, okay, questions. But anyway, so yeah, just a quick little, philosophical, I guess, exploration of the idea. Do you have a right to complain? I don't think so. Unless it's like I said, somebody promised you something and that thing is not being delivered, to the agreement in place, you really don't have room to bitch about anything else. If Minecraft touts itself as a balanced PvP game, and you get into matches and it is completely unbalanced, then you probably have a moral ground on which to complain. You don't have a right to complain. When you get into the ethics of a situation, that's when you start getting into whether or not you actually have the right to do something based upon an ethical perspective. So anyway, yeah, just some armchair philosophy there for you for a little bit on a Friday afternoon. Just a thought I had in my head, and a reality check for myself. And that's really what these videos do more than anything else, is that they're ongoing. Is this an idea that I want to keep with me because it has value to it in some way? It makes me feel better about the world I'm in, or makes me excited to participate. Um, or am I just, pushing hot air out of my hole just for the sake of hot air? Anyway, I'm going to go capture those ducks and chickens and start growing some eggs because we're going to get pumpkins going here in a bit. So until next time, thank you all for stopping by and hanging out and checking in on this little idea. What do you think about, complaining about mechanical shit, complaining about non-mechanical, binding agreement stuff? Like, can you really complain about poor service if there is no assertion that you will have good service? Yeah, that's the thing, huh? Right, whatever. Till next time, be nice and play well.